The Aldridge Farm was the 14th stop on my spring circuit, which I ran every April through 7 central Kansas counties, starting in Salina and working southeast through Reno and Pratt and Barton before turning back north. I had been calling on the Aldridge Farm for 6 years. Frank Aldridge was a reliable customer, not a big one. The place ran to about 160 acres, and Frank was cautious with the seed budget, the way farmers who have been through 3 bad years tend to be cautious with everything. But a steady one, which on a circuit like mine was worth more than the occasional large order from someone who might not be there next spring. Frank Aldridge was not there this spring. I knew this before I pulled into the yard, because the circuit in central Kansas in April of 1935 was a relay race of information. Every farmer knew what was happening on every other farm within 20 miles, and by the time I reached the Aldridge place, I had heard from 3 other stops that Frank had gone to Wichita in February looking for work and had been there since. The farm was being managed by his wife, whose name I did not know because in 6 years of calling on the Aldridge farm, I had dealt exclusively with Frank. The woman who came to the door when I knocked was not what I had been imagining, which was something vaguer and less specific. She was 28 or 29, I guessed, with dark brown hair in a braid pinned at the nape of her neck and brown eyes that found me with the quick, assessing quality of someone who has been alone on an isolated property for a while and has learned to evaluate what comes up the lane before deciding what to do with it. She was wearing a work dress with the sleeves rolled and a canvas apron, and she had been doing something in the yard before I knocked, which the apron and the slight breathlessness confirmed. "Mrs. Aldridge?" I said. "Yes," she said. "Gil Hartley, Hartwell Seed Company. I call on your husband each spring. I heard he was away and wanted to stop by regardless, see if there was anything the farm needed." She looked at the sample case in my hand, then at me. The assessment had not concluded. It was still running. "Frank's in Wichita," she said. "He's been there since February." She said it the way people on the circuit said it that spring, as a fact and not a complaint, because complaining required energy that the situation had not left in surplus. "He's looking for work." "Yes, ma'am," I said. "I heard that. I'm sorry." "Are you selling or visiting?" she said. It was a direct question, and it deserved a direct answer. "Selling," I said, "but I won't press it. If you need seed and the situation doesn't allow for it right now, I can note it as a sample and come back in the fall." She looked at the sample case again. Then she said, "Come in. I'll put coffee on." The kitchen was clean and organized in the way of a space being maintained by someone who understands that order is a form of control, and that control, when everything else is uncertain, is worth maintaining. The coffee was real, not extended. I noted this the way I noted everything on the circuit, as information about the state of things. She set a cup in front of me and sat across the table with her own and looked at me with the direct brown eyes. "What do you have?" she said. I opened the sample case and went through what I had, the winter wheat varieties that could still be planted for a fall harvest, the sorghum that was better in dry conditions than wheat, the Sudan grass for the pasture sections, the kitchen garden varieties that didn't make the circuit usually, but that I carried because farm women asked for them, and it was good business to have them. She listened to each one with the specific attention of someone who was making real calculations, not browsing. She asked about germination rates under dry conditions. She asked about the sorghum's water requirements compared to the wheat. She asked which of the kitchen varieties were the most reliable in a dry year. She was, I understood, actually going to plant. "What's your situation with the spring planting?" I said. "Did Frank get any seed before he left?" "He ordered in February," she said, "before he decided to go. The order came in March." She looked at the table. "I planted what we had, Southfield and the kitchen garden. But the east section hasn't gone in. Frank was going to decide on the east section depending on the spring rainfall." She paused. "The spring rainfall has not been what anyone hoped." I knew what the east section of the Aldridge farm looked like. I had driven past it coming in, 40 acres of ground that had been wheat 3 years running, and had not produced well in any of them. and that a careful farmer would look at in April 1935 and have serious questions about whether to plant at all. "What's Frank thinking about the east section?" I said.
"Frank doesn't know about the east section," she said.
It arrived in the room with a particular flatness.
"Frank is in Wichita. I write him twice a week. I tell him about the south field and the cattle and the kitchen garden."
She picked up her coffee cup.
"I haven't told him about the east section because I haven't decided what to do with it yet, and there's no point worrying him about a decision that isn't made."
I looked at her across the kitchen table, at the canvas apron and the rolled sleeves and the brown eyes that were doing the specific thing they did when she was thinking, which was to look at something that was not in the room. "If you were going to plant the east section," I said carefully, "what would you put in it?" She looked at me. "Sorghum," she said. "The east section runs dry faster than the south. Sorghum would give it the best chance in a dry year." She paused. "Frank planted wheat in the east section every year for 6 years. It hasn't done what wheat is supposed to do in 3 of those years." "Sorghum is the right call for that section," I said.
"I know it is," she said.
I looked at the sample case. I looked at the sample book in my interior pocket. I thought about the Hartwell Seed Company's policy on samples, which was that samples were to be used judiciously to build customer relationships and were not to exceed a quantity that constituted a material gift. I thought about what constituted a material gift and whether 40 acres of sorghum seed fell within that definition. I concluded that it probably did not fall within that definition, and then concluded that I was going to leave it anyway. "I have a new sorghum variety," I said. "Hartwell's been developing it for 3 years. Better drought tolerance than the standard. I've been looking for farms in the right conditions to trial it." I reached into the sample case. "I'd like to leave enough for the east section if you're willing to plant it and give me a report in August on how it came up." She looked at me. The assessment was running again. "A trial," she said. "Yes, ma'am," I said. "No charge for trial seed. You plant it, I come back in August, you tell me what you saw." The assessment ran for a long moment. "What's the catch?" she said. "No catch," I said. "I need farms in the right soil conditions to trial new varieties. Your east section is exactly what I'm looking for." This was true as far as it went. It was not the complete account of why I was leaving the seed, but it was true. "All right," she said. "I left enough sorghum for 40 acres, plus a small overage for the inevitable losses, and I left the kitchen garden varieties she had asked about, the drought-tolerant tomato and the bean varieties, as genuine samples, which they were. I wrote all of it in the sample book under trial, Aldridge, C., Nickerson, and I put the case back in the car and drove the rest of the circuit. Her name was Cora. I had asked before I left. "Cora Aldridge," she had said, and I had written it in the sample book under the entry, which I had not done for any other farm on the circuit, though all of them had names I already knew. I thought about the Aldridge farm more than I thought about any other stop on the circuit that spring. This was not something I examined too closely at the time. The circuit gave me plenty to think about, and I had been on the road long enough to know that some farms stayed with you after you left them and some didn't, and that it was not always clear why. But the Aldridge farm stayed with me through May and June and into July. And when August came around and the circuit brought me back to that section of Reno County, I drove the Aldridge lane with a specific attention that I had not brought to the 14 stops before it. The east section was green, not the desperate thin green of a planting that is fighting the conditions, genuinely green, the thick, even green of a crop that has found what it needed and is doing what it was supposed to do. The sorghum had come up across the full 40 acres, the stands even and dense, the plants at the height they should be at in August. I stopped the car at the field edge and got out and walked into the rows and looked at it properly, running my hand along a plant the way I had seen my father do, reading the stalk and the leaf and the ear for what it was telling me. It was telling me that Cora Aldridge had planted well, and that the variety had performed above what I had expected,
and that the east section of this farm, which had been producing marginal wheat for 3 years, was going to produce a sorghum harvest in 1935. I went to the house. She came to the door with a dish towel in her hand, which told me she had been in the kitchen. She looked at me and then past me at the car in the lane, and something in her expression shifted, not to the guarded assessment of the spring, something different, something that was closer to what a person's face does when they have been waiting for something without admitting they have been waiting for it. "Mr. Hartley," she said. "Gil," I said. "Mrs. Aldridge?" "Cora," she said. "Cora. I came to look at the east section." "I know," she said. "Come in. I'll put coffee on." We sat at the same kitchen table, the same clean, organized kitchen. She had let her braid down, I noticed. It was loose over her left shoulder, the dark brown with the reddish undertone catching the August afternoon light from the window. She had changed out of the work dress into a plain cotton dress that was still entirely practical, but was not the one she had been working in. I did not comment on this. I noted it. "The sorghum came up well," I said. "Better than I expected," she said. "The east section hasn't done that in 3 years." "The variety performs in dry conditions," I said. "Your east section is exactly the soil profile it was developed for." "You knew that when you left it," she said. "Yes," I said. She looked at me across the table with the clear, direct brown eyes. "Frank doesn't know about the sorghum," she said. "I told him the east section was fallow this year." I looked at the table. "Why?" She was quiet for a moment. "Because explaining the sorghum requires explaining you," she said. "And explaining you requires explaining—" She stopped. "I haven't figured out what you require explaining as yet." I looked at my coffee cup. I was a seed salesman who had left seed on a farm for reasons that were partly professional and partly something else, and who had come back in August for reasons that were mostly the something else. The something else did not have a clean professional description. "How was Frank?" I said. "He found work," she said, "at a machine shop in Wichita. He started in June. The money is steadier than it was." She looked at the window. "He'll be home in October, he thinks, when the harvest work is finished and the winter work starts." "October," I said. "October," she said. We sat with that for a moment. The August heat was on the window, and the sorghum was in the east section, and October was 6 weeks away, and Frank Aldridge was in Wichita, and I was at his kitchen table with his wife, and the coffee was real, and the afternoon light was doing what afternoon light does in August in Kansas, which is everything. "Stay for supper," she said. "I've got more than I need for one." "I don't want to impose," I said. "You brought seed that grew," she said. "That's not imposing. That's worth a meal." I stayed for supper. She made a meal from the kitchen garden, the tomatoes and the beans that had come up from the varieties I had left in the spring, which was a thing I noticed and did not say anything about. We ate at the kitchen table and talked about the harvest and the circuit and what the other farms in the county were seeing this year and whether the drought was showing any sign of breaking. We talked about teaching, which she had done for 2 years before she married Frank, and about whether the Nickerson School was going to keep all its grades or consolidate the way the smaller districts were doing. We talked about her family in Salina and my family in Hutchinson, and the specific Kansas geography of people who grew up 60 miles apart and never crossed paths until a seed circuit and a dry spring arranged it. We did not talk about October. When I left, I stood at the car for a moment, and she stood at the porch step, and the August evening was doing the long, slow thing it does before dark. "I'll be back through on the fall circuit," I said. "September, maybe October." "I'll be here," she said. I drove the rest of the day's circuit, and that night in the motor court in Hutchinson, I wrote up the Aldridge East section in the trial record. Sorghum variety, stand density, plant health, estimated yield. And I wrote it accurately because the trial record was accurate. And then I sat with the record book open and thought about October and about a woman who had said, "I'll be here," with the specific quality of a statement that contains more than its words. I came back in September.
The harvest was underway on the east section, the sorghum coming off at a yield that was, by the county standard for that section in that year, remarkable. Cora had hired 2 hands from the neighboring Pruitt operation for the harvest days, and I found her in the field when I arrived, which meant she was in a work dress and boots and the braid pinned up, and the apron and a pair of work gloves that she pulled off when she saw me coming. "Gil Hartley," she said. "Cora Aldridge," I said. She looked at the east section behind her, at the harvest underway, at me. "It came in," she said. "I can see that," I said. "Better than Frank's best wheat year," she said, "and this was a dry year." "The variety was right for the section," I said. She looked at me for a moment with the direct brown eyes. "You said that in the spring," she said, "and in August." "It's still true," I said.
"Yes," she said, "it is."
She pulled her work gloves back on. "I'm in the middle of something. Come back at 6. I'll have supper." I came back at 6. And at 6 the following month, in October, which was the month Frank was supposed to come home. He did not come home in October. The machine shop in Wichita had offered him winter work, steadier than harvest labor, better than nothing, and he had written to say he would stay through March, maybe longer. Cora read me the relevant passage from the letter without commentary, the way she delivered most information, and I received it the way I received most of what she said, which was completely and without rushing to fill the space after it. "March," I said. "He thinks," she said. We were at the kitchen table again. The kitchen in October was different from the kitchen in August, the garden put to bed for the season, the preserves visible on the shelf from what the summer had produced, the stove going against the October cold that comes into Kansas houses in the night. She had let her hair down again, the dark braid loose over her shoulder. She had not put the canvas apron on. "Cora," I said. "Gil," she said. "I've been coming back to this farm since May," I said. "I've put it in the sample book as a trial, and I've come back to check the trial, and I've stayed for supper 3 times now." I looked at the coffee cup. "I want to say something honest about that." She looked at me with the clear brown eyes. "All right," she said. "The seed was real," I said. "The trial was real. What the East section did this year is real, and I'm going to write it up for Hartwell, and it will go into the variety assessment, and it will help other farmers. All of that is true." "I know," she said. "But that's not all of it," I said. She was quiet for a moment. The stove ticked. Outside, the October wind was doing the early thing it does in Kansas before it gets serious. "I know that too," she said. I looked at her, at the dark hair loose over her shoulder and the brown eyes that had been assessing me since May and had arrived, over 4 visits and 4 suppers and the East section's harvest, at something that was no longer purely assessment. "Frank comes home in March," I said. "That's what he thinks," she said. "That's what the letter says." "And before March," I said. She looked at the table. "Before March," she said, "there is the farm, and the winter, and the work that has to be done because someone has to do it." She picked up her coffee cup. "And apparently there is a seed salesman who comes back." "Yes," I said, "there is that." She set the cup down. She looked at me directly with the clear brown eyes in the October lamplight. "Gil," she said. "Yes," I said. "I have not done anything wrong," she said. "I want to say that clearly. I have had supper with a man who left seed on this farm and came back to see it grow. That is what has happened." "That is what has happened," I said. "And I am not going to do anything wrong," she said. "Frank is my husband. He is in Wichita because there was no work here, and he went to find it, and he sends money when he has it, and he writes twice a week. He is not a bad man." "No," I said. "But I am very lonely," she said, "and you come back, and I have supper ready when you come back." She looked at the lamp. "I don't know what to do with that except say it out loud," which I just did. I looked at this woman across the kitchen table who had been alone on a farm since February,
and had planted 40 acres of sorghum by herself and harvested it and written her husband twice a week and told him the east section was fallow and had supper ready when I came back. "I'm going to keep coming back," I said, "on the circuit. It's a legitimate stop. The trial is ongoing." "Yes," she said. "And I'm going to stay for supper when you ask me to," I said. "And we're going to talk about the farm and the circuit and the school in Nickerson and whatever else there is to talk about." "Yes," she said. "And when Frank comes home in March," I said, "or whenever he comes home, I'm going to be the seed salesman who ran a sorghum trial on the east section and has a professional interest in the ongoing performance of the variety. That is what I'm going to be." She looked at me for a long moment. The October wind moved around the house. The stove ticked. The lamp was warm between us.
"That is a very careful thing to say," she said.
"Yes," I said. "It's also not the whole thing," she said. "No," I said, "it isn't." She picked up her coffee cup. She looked at the lamp. "Gil," she said. "Yes." "There's more coffee," she said, "if you want it." "I want it," I said. She got up and poured. She came back around the table and set the cup down in front of me and stood there for a moment before going back to her own chair, and in that moment she put her hand on my shoulder, briefly, the way you put a hand on a shoulder when you want to acknowledge something without making it into something larger than the moment can hold. And then she went back to her chair. We drank the coffee. We talked about the winter planting schedule and whether the east section would support a cover crop between the sorghum harvest and the spring planting, which was a legitimate agricultural question and also not the only thing we were talking about. The October evening settled around the farmhouse the way October evenings do. The dark coming earlier, the cold becoming present, the sense of the long winter ahead arriving as a physical thing. I stayed until 8. I drove the county road back to Hutchinson, and the darkness was full Kansas October dark, the stars beginning their winter clarity. And I thought about a woman who had said, "I'm very lonely," the way she said everything, which was plainly and without self-pity, and with the specific courage of someone who has decided that honesty is the only useful currency left to her. I came back in November, and November was different from October the way each visit had been different from the one before. Something settling between us with each return. Something that was not yet what it might have been, and was more than nothing, and that existed in the specific space between a legitimate professional call and the thing that both of us understood it also was. Frank came home in April. Not March, April, the way things are always a month later than the letter says. I was on the spring circuit when he came home, and I stopped at the Aldridge farm the way I had stopped every spring for 7 years, and Frank Aldridge answered the door. He was thinner than I remembered, and he had the look of a man who has been working in a machine shop all winter and is relieved to be back on his land. He shook my hand and said he had heard about the sorghum trial and that the east section had produced better than any wheat year he could remember. And was I going to leave the same variety again this spring? I said yes. Cora was visible through the kitchen door at the stove. She did not come to the door. She did not look up when I shook Frank's hand. She was simply there in the kitchen, doing what needed doing in the kitchen, and I noted her the way I noted everything on the circuit, accurately and completely, and without showing what the noting cost. I left the seed. I wrote it in the sample book under Trial, Aldridge, C, Nickerson. The same entry, the same farm, the same notation. I drove the rest of the circuit. In August, I came back for the trial assessment, which was legitimate, and Frank was in the east section, and we looked at the sorghum together, and he was a good farmer, and he asked the right questions, and I answered them accurately. Cora brought water out to the field at mid-morning the way farm wives do, and she handed Frank his cup, and then she handed me mine. And when she handed me mine, she looked at me for a moment with the clear brown eyes.
And that was all. That was everything that was possible, and it was also the complete account of what it was, which was a seed salesman who had left seed on a farm in the spring of 1935 and come back to see what grew, and a woman who had planted it because she was not the kind of person who left things unplanted, and a winter that had been what it was, and a spring that had come the way springs come regardless of what the winter held. The sorghum came in well again that year, better than the first year, which is what happens when a variety finds its ground. I wrote it in the sample book. I drove the rest of the circuit. I came back every spring and every fall for the next 7 years, and the east section produced every year. And Frank Aldridge asked the right questions, and I answered them accurately. And Cora brought water to the field at mid-morning and handed me my cup, and sometimes for a moment, in the August light or the October lamp or the April cold, looked at me with the clear, direct brown eyes that had been assessing me since the first spring, and that had, across one long winter and the seasons after it, arrived at something they did not say and did not need to. Some things grow in the right conditions and keep growing. Some things you plant in the available ground and tend carefully and do not name, because naming them would cost more than the having of them. The sorghum is still in the east section of the Aldridge farm. I planted the first of it in the spring of 1935, and I have been coming back every August to see what grew, and it has never failed to come up.